Welcome along to another edition of the Tide 5. I'm here in studio with Off the Ball's resident rugby nerd, Neil Tracey. How are you?
Not too bad, How are you getting on?
Good. Great news for everybody who's a fan of the Tide 5 this week, because we are back up to 5 talking points. We're going to focus on
5 of them.
Yeah, full 5 of them after the weekend's Six Nations action. We're going to talk about Ireland's line-out and the maul quite a bit. We're going to get into Wales, as you can see on the sidebar there. Line-out trick play and the English scrum. So we may as well kick things off with the Ireland maul. What struck you from Ireland's performance against France in this department?
Well, first of all, it's just simply that the line-out into a maul was a big weapon for Ireland yesterday. 4 tries, 3 of them were directly the first phase off a line out into a maul over the line. So that was the 3 tries. It was Rory Best, Johnny Sexton's and Keith Earls in the second half. The first one that we're going to look at is Rory Best's one. And this is probably it's actually some really good play from CJ Stander more than anything. It's almost like creating a diversion that allowed that little gap for Rory Best to go over. So we're going to look at the first slide here. And as you can see there, circle there is CJ Stander. That's just as the ball is about to be thrown in by Rory Best. So Stander basically, he's just braced himself to come around and get ready into the maul. Now we'll just roll on to the next one. And that is, at this point here now, the line out is, he's up in the air. Line's about to come down. CJ Stander's eyeing him up. And you can see there, French number 2, Guillaume Garado. He's pretty much eyeing up Stander because as it looks here, Stander's going to be the guy that's coming in, ripping that ball and bringing it back to the back of the maul and setting things up. So Garado's just keeping his eyes firmly peeled on him. Now we'll just go on to the next one. What happens here is Stander goes in. It looks for all the world like he is actually picking that ball. And he's going to be setting up the maul and just putting it back on his back for someone else to pick up and go on. And again, Garado's looking at him. But we'll just go back there again. We'll just go back there. We can see what Rory Best is going to do. He's actually going to come around and take that ball instead.
Okay.
So he's going to be the ball carrier off the back of this. Now we'll just go on. At this point, what happens is Garado still looking at CJ Stander. It really looks like he has the ball. Rory Best just looks like he's coming in to support Stander as he prepares to kind of break off. And we'll go on to the next slide. At this point, Stander just about he just peels up alongside the side of the maul. And at this point, Garado just firmly thinks this guy has the ball. He's about to break and go for the try line. So he is bitten on that now. He's like that fish, he's just bitten on the bait. What you can see, though, is right at the back there, Van der Fleer is passing the ball off to Rory Best, and that's the gap created in the corner for Best to go over. So it's just about that little diversion created by Stander to just make the French defence and Garado think that I have this, I'm about to peel off and go for the line. But while he's doing all that, it's just the sleight of hand, balls have been moved to the back and Rory Best has a clean run into the line.
It's good subterfuge from Van der Fleer there as well.
Yeah.
Would Ireland be looking at Garado there and thinking, what does he think we're doing, and adapt accordingly? Or were they going to go exactly like that with the ball in the exact same people's hands regardless of what France thought?
No, I'd say they probably analysed what France had been doing in their previous games, the way they set up at lineouts, because you can see it as well from Keith Earls' try as well. Which we're going to show now. This was a lovely little, I suppose, a bit of a trick play as well. Ireland have experimented with putting backs into the line-out over the last couple of years. We would have seen Conor Murray actually being lifted and taking a couple of line-outs themselves in the last year or so. But what we're going to do here is you can see Keith Earls is the front man at the line-out. This is just as the ball is being thrown in. So we'll just move it on again here. But what's going to happen is the ball is taken in, the maul is set up. It's gone back to CJ Stander at the back of it. And what Earls is doing, he's just kind of whipped around. He's actually just really hiding in at the back of this maul. He's hiding in, waiting for the perfect opportunity, just trying to be as subtle as possible, lurking away. And we'll just go on to our next slide. So what happens here is CJ Stander is broken off towards the left, and Earls, who'd been tucked in behind him the whole way through, has just come out alongside him. The French defence, Picamoles and Demba Bamba, they're just fully focused on CJ Stander because they think he's carrying. They're coming out to the right, and that's created this perfect hole where you can see that red arrow where Keith Earls just flies right through the middle, under the sticks, try time.
Demba Bamba's at fault there, though, was he?
Probably as well.
It's easier said than done to actually get distracted by that.
Yeah, it is. I think Ireland sold it brilliantly. I think a lot of people watching at home probably didn't even realise Earls was there until he was away.
Yeah. I certainly didn't.
Yeah, I was certainly one anyway as well. It was only when we all looked at it back that you saw how good the move was. And also there as well, you can see James Ryan. Just staying in tight to the second row. He's probably just kind of holding that gap a little bit as well. So it's just about creating the space for someone to go through.
Yeah, the question now is looking ahead to next Saturday, and do you look at the Welsh maul defence? There was a couple of signs from them at the weekend that might tell us how that might go on Saturday.
Yeah, and there was one in particular. I think what Ireland are going to have to be very wary of is Adam Beard, the Welsh second row. He's 6'8". So it's that idea of long limbs in the maul, and we're going to show an example here of just how well he did to break up a Scottish maul. So this is real frame by frame stuff over a few seconds. It all looks very similar. It's a little bit blurry there, I know, but at this point in time, Adam Beard, you can see in the black scrum hat there, he's pretty much just lashed in right behind Grant Gilchrist in the red scrum hat, who's taken the line out. That other second yellow circle, that is Stuart McAnally, the Scottish hooker. He's picked the ball at the back of the maul, so he's going to be the guy carrying it. So we're just going to go on to the next slide. As you can see at this stage, that's the left arm of Adam Beard, which has just come over Grant Gilchrist. And what Adam Beard is basically doing here, he's like a boa constrictor. Have you ever seen, when they wrap around their prey and just completely choke them?
Yeah.
This is pretty much what he's doing. He is just working his way through the line out, right up through the middle. Like we see the line out there, the maul is such a mess a lot of the time, people coming around the side. This is the perfect example of someone coming right through the middle and just picking off the gaps and working his way through. So that's the left arm coming over. Next slide. And that's the right arm reaching over now, and he's just grabbed onto the jersey of Stuart McAnally, who's the ball carrier.
Right.
So at this stage, he's just about got his prey now. So the next one, and that's the left arm coming back over. So now he has two arms over Stuart McAnally, and he's pretty much taken Grant Gilchrist, who would have been the buffer in between the two of them, protecting McAnally. He's taken him out of it completely. Our next slide. Now, you can see the ball there. He's almost onto the ball at this stage. He's worked his way past completely through. He's now in on top of Stuart McAnally. And the next one. And that's it there. This is where Ali Price, the Scottish scrum half, is trying to just wrestle the ball out. He's not able to get it. It's a knock-on. It's a scrum to Wales. So it's just a really good example of working your way through the maul and just picking off player by player before you get to the ball. What Ireland will be doing to try counter that is have a long train, single file. So basically, person comes in, rips it out, ball on the hip, next man in takes that ball onto the hip, next man in, that ball onto the hip. You want a really long, narrow maul to just limit the amount of to, I suppose, extend the amount of space actually that the Welsh players can work their way through on the maul. Very
interesting. And what do you reckon? Are Ireland well capable of countering what Beard is going to try and do?
Oh, they certainly are. Yeah, they absolutely certainly are. They've, as we've seen in, the line-out didn't go so well against Italy, but when they got their maul going, it worked quite well. We saw it at the weekend, the maul worked absolutely fantastically. So they're certainly well capable of doing it. That's for certain. But they just have to be wary that you have a guy in there who's 6'8", and it's something Devin Toner's really good at in an Irish shirt, of just using those long limbs to reach over and pull people in and just stop them getting the ball back as quick as possible.
That's interesting. So in that position, who would you want to, from an Irish perspective, if the tables were turned, if we were going up against the Scotland maul, who is the best Ireland defender in that outside of Devin Toner? Is it James Ryan because of his huge stature? Yeah,
generally you're going to have the taller man, the second rows trying to pick off that. If you're defending anyway, you want the tallest guy who can reach over with the longest limbs to extend over and pull people in.
All right, it's very interesting. We want to talk George North as well. You want to linger on Wales for a few moments?
This is just a nice little trick play from Wales, to be honest. Their line-out hasn't been that great in the opening few games, so this is just a nice one to just win a nice clean ball. So what we're going to do here, essentially, you can see Thomas Francis there comes in. He's marking the line-out, so he's almost, normally what will happen is the first man will come in, mark the line-out, and what teams generally try to do is they'll try walk their pack in as one, just so the opposition are trying to read where they're going, so they're not standing there. There isn't this prolonged period where everyone's standing there and being sized up about what they're going to do. But what Francis does well here, it's all about the sell. It's all about just convincing them you're going to do one thing. George North is casually strolling in while we were doing that, but Francis walks back as if he's kind of just going back towards the forwards pack, just to kind of relay a call, tell them where they're going, get things set up. But as this is happening, you can see George North has walked in to be the first man in the line out. He's beyond the 5 metre line, which is perfect. And you can see that gap there. It's a good 1.5 metre gap there from the 5 metre line to where Johnny Gray is setting up. You can see George North is looking down at it. He knows the gap is there. Scotland haven't realised it. And when we roll it on, it's just a quick throw no lift or anything like that into George North. He doesn't get very far with it, only gets about a couple of metres, but it sets up the first phase of what turned into 23 phases, try.
Yeah, geez, that's sort of reminiscent of the try we conceded in Murrayfields 2 years ago, isn't it? That's sort of quick.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't a wing on that.
And Scotland did that exact move actually that they would have done to Ireland 2 years ago. They did that exact move against South Africa in the autumn internationals last year and got a try out of it as well. So I do like to see, we saw Earls there stepping into a line-out for Ireland. I like to see just a variation, just kind of pushing the box out a little bit and seeing what else can be done other than the simple straight up at 2, straight up at 4. Get a couple of backs in there just to kind of, even if you're not using them, just create the illusion that you might even be using them.
Yeah, it messes with the head out for sure, I'd imagine. The last thing we wanted to talk about is England and their move off the scrum.
Yeah, it was just a cool move. It was just, I suppose, using the players you have. Obviously, Billy Vunipola is your number 8, but they had Joe Cockanasinga, the enormous 18-stone winger, playing there on Saturday. But what they did was, for one scrum in particular, you can see the left of the red circles. That's Billy Vunipola setting up just outside Owen Farrell for a scrum. Going in instead of him at number 8 is our 18-stone winger, Joe Cockanasinga, who can surely handle himself. They would have had a few scrums at this stage, seeing they had more than enough power to deal with Italy, so they would have been comfortable using this. So he goes in at number 8. We can see that there's 14 on his back. He's slotting in at number 8. Ball is at the back at in the hands of Ben Youngs. And what's going to happen is Billy Vunipola, crash ball straight up the middle. And he gets 10 yards, at least 10 yards off it.
That's fairly simple and bloody effective.
But what I did love, I'm not saying now that Eddie Jones is watching and copying the actions of Munster School Senior Cup rugby, but we did see this exact move used by Ordskull Reach at the weekend or last week against CBC. Their huge number 8, Daniel Okeke, stands out in the centre, charges over, try. They had a flanker. They had I think it was a winger in as the flanker, and if you haven't already seen, he scored an unbelievable try as well a few weeks ago. He's a proper talent to watch out for, Daniel Okeke. I saw him playing a couple of years ago, playing Junior Cup rugby for Ordskull Reach, and even then I was going, oh my God, this kid is seriously talented.
That's some power there. What are the chances that Joe Schmidt decides to put Jacob Stockdale at the back of his standard into the middle?
I'd love to see that. I would love to see it happen. Imagine CJ Standard charging down.
Well, or as we can see, not only can he do that, he can play the nice little inside passes we saw off the line out yesterday.
All about subtlety.
Neil Tracey, good stuff. Thanks a million. If you've got any questions for Neil's Tide 5 at any occasion, it's Neil_.